We're going to discuss the state of governance, politics, challenges, and prospects, among other things. In the studio, to have this conversation, I have Honorable Ibrahim bin Kargbo, former Member of Parliament under the All People's Congress, APC party. I also have a former minister, he was also former Minister of Information and Communication under the Ernest Bai Koroma-led government. Also in the studio, I have Honorable Ibrahim Bundu, former Majority Leader in Parliament. Good morning, gentlemen, both honorables. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
For joining
Thank
us.
you for having us.
I'm expecting to have Honorable Alpha Khan, presidential spokesman, to join the conversation, and Honorable Bernadette Lahai, former minority leader in Parliament, would also be joining the conversation, but virtually by Zoom. I'll begin with both of you already in the studio. Honorable Ibrahim bin Kargbo, describe the state of Sierra Leone's democracy and governance under the current political trend.
Well, all I can say is that up to this time, we apparently are going by what the Constitution, the 1991 Constitution provides, trying to promote a multi-party democratic process. In that regard, it means that we have allowed the parliament to operate that has two opposing sides, sometimes four political parties in the parliament, to ensure that to promote the concept of democracy. Well, having stated that, the present state also makes sure that the governance system addresses the issues of separation of powers, which means that we have a judiciary, we have the executive, and a legislature. Public perception is that some of the arms of this system are not working as much as we expect them to do. For example, if you ask some people, they will tell you that the judiciary is not as strong as we expected it to be. And some people will also state that the parliament needs some addressing, so because it's important that we address the issues of the people. And of course, the executive also. You know, there is this talk that the executive in Sierra Leone is extremely too powerful. What do we do to reduce the powers of the executive that has taken it to the point of almost a dictatorship? So we have addressed these issues time and time again, leading to the point whereby the populace believes that we should begin to address some of these issues, trying to address the Constitution itself that led to, in the first place, the creation of the Peter Tucker Commission, to address the commission itself, to make sure that we improve on the system of governance in this country. That took us to the point of the 1991 Constitution. But for those of us who also witnessed the one-party system of governance, it is fair to state that the present system of governance is far better than what obtained in those days. Because now freedom of expression is allowed, freedom of association is allowed, etc., etc. But to bring everything together, to respond to your question, the state is such that we are addressing the issues provided in the Constitution, but at the same time, we also have the weaknesses, the lacuna that must be addressed as well. Take, for example, we have a constitution, the 1991 Constitution, which has a provision which insists that no one person should move from one party to the other. And when it was put to the test at some point by John Khalifa Smart, it did not work. The Constitution says that nobody should move from one party to the other as long as you are elected by that party to enter parliament. You should not move to another political party. Kargbo but attempted to test it, to know the weaknesses and the strength of it all. When some of his own members of parliament started to lean over to the SLPP, when he attempted to use 77K, which gave him the authority to do so as leader of his own party, the NPP, they ruled against him. It did not work. So these are some of the weaknesses. Then, of course, you take other cases in the governance of the country, where people believe that when from time to time, we should begin to address certain issues. But we do not address those issues. We wait until the time expires and then we begin to address them. Now, we are beginning to address a new issue, the Constitution itself. We have looked at the Constitution in various ways. People are coming with quite a number of suggestions. For example, somebody says, now we can even allow people to contest as a presidential candidate on his own without contesting with another party. An independent presidential candidate is a suggestion that is difficult to fathom. Because in the first place, I cannot see how an independent candidate can contest against a party like the APC or a party like the SLPP. But these are suggestions.
But just to interrupt you there quickly, the suggestion of independent candidate, making room for an independent presidential candidate, comes to some, especially those who are putting that argument forward, as a solution to the level of influence or authority the APC and the SLPP as political parties have over the president, who obviously, as per the constitution we're going by, you become a president only if APC or SLPP or your political party puts you forward as a flag bearer. And for our history, it's been the APC and the SLPP, minus the rebel interventions we've had, who have governed the country. For those putting forward the argument, it's that some of these presidents, if not all, wanted to do much more than they could. But the strength of the influence of both the APC and the SLPP over the candidates they put forward is stronger than that president's individual desire to want to set things right. So for some of those people holding that thought, they're thinking the solution is, let's have independent presidential candidates. If we have an independent president who does not have to go by the dictates of the APC or the SLPP, they probably would be able to do a lot more than being threatened by their party to say, we put you in that position.
Are you suggesting that the other parties cannot produce a president? There are other political parties in the country.
But so far as our history has given, how many of those political parties have produced the president of the country?
If those political parties cannot produce a president, an individual can produce a president. This is a simple question. It was tried in Mali, and they saw the disaster. When the president suddenly discovered he had nobody in parliament to put his programs through, and there was an attempted coup, nobody could stand by him. He lost power. So these are some of the examples we look at. So if we think that we want to develop an idea, we must also be very certain that to protect the individual who is going to be that candidate. Don't you think?
Before we move much deeper into the conversation, Honorable Ibrahim Bundu, I'd also like to hear your thoughts on where we are currently in democracy and governance. The good, the bad, the ugly. What do you see?
Well, I'm going to be limited by the experience I've gotten over the years. That is Parliament. That is where I was grounded. Because, of course, when you talk about democracy in Sierra Leone, we have the various branches. Unfortunately, my elder brother here has served in almost all of these branches, including the fourth estate. So he is more grounded. I'm happy to learn here today, other than, But coming to my own little experience from what I've gotten as a parliamentarian, I believe democracy is having a lot of challenges because of people who who are put in charge of certain or are given certain responsibilities are not owning up to those responsibilities. And I say so with some amount of things I have witnessed over the years. The parliament will exist or will perform its duties effectively if they have the full support of the executive. Mind you, the head of the executive is also a member of parliament by the dictates of our constitution. And of course, the judiciary is the one that is legally charged to actually see how we run democracy in terms of satisfaction for our people. And of course, also the people are also charged with a full responsibility. Why am I saying that? For example, if you want to take a bill to Parliament, the stages of taking that bill, be it a private member's motion or a government motion, it starts from a policy, graduate to judicial discourse. That is, they take it to the judiciary or to the law officers to draft it in a way that is acceptable. Before it gets to us as parliamentarians, the first port of call is the people through the Gazette. The other day I was, when I mentioned the Gazette, somebody hastily asked, why are you mentioning the Gazette? How many people can, I gave him an example that when people are slated or are being registered to vote for paramount chieftaincy, and they gazette it, they go and look for their names. When some other people, when they have promotions, those who are saying they don't have time for the gazette, when it is gazetted, they look for it. So the people have a response. Yes, they look for the gazette and look for their names. When elections are coming in 2028, they are going to gazette most of these materials like the voter register. People go there, look for their names, and they make corrections. So nobody is going to give me an excuse of not knowing where the gazette, and this had been since Thy Kingdom Come. So for us, as parliamentarians, we have our challenges between the branches of government, how certain legislations are drafted and how they are also implemented during the course of, but we only have what we call oversight responsibility. And some of this oversight responsibility, when they favor a certain branch, it's okay. But when it it encounter their wishes, it's another problem. Even at that higher level of the executive and the judiciary. In fact, that was one of the reasons why we did we introduced what we call the pre-legislative engagement, so that we give an opportunity for some members of parliament, even like me, who are not judicial or lawyers, to explain to us, to give us in plain and simple terms. Because mind you, when we have those legislations, we are duty bound to take them to our people to explain them in very simple terms. So if I, the member of parliament, don't even understand the judicial language or how it is, of course, talk less about our people. So those are all the challenges that are actually inhibiting some of the progress we are now seeing. And the people, the role they are playing, I'm happy now they have gradually moving from a passive to active role. I can remember even before I left Parliament, when we were passing what was the bill? It was a private member's motion. What was it? It was piloted by Ashata Kabia, the honorable Ashata Kabia. Yeah, it was a well discussed bill. What was it? The clergies of this country, they came together as a people, made representation, even when after the bill was passed, to explain, to express to the government, at the executive level to tell them that no, Sierra Leone is not ready for this kind of abortion. The abortion bill was not ready for this kind of bill. So even though Parliament, their representatives have passed it, President was bold enough or was convinced by what was presented, yes, and he refused to sign it, and he gave the reasons and sent it back to Parliament. But by the time all the other things were done, I was not there again, and of course I've heard about it coming back. So you see, it's a question of the leadership in Parliament, the leadership in the executive, the leadership in the judiciary, for them to come together and sincere enough to see what they can do. And of course, there is also, I think it's 35(1), when they say political parties are formed to shape the political, will of the people. You see, this is where political parties should not also be complacent, just thinking about how to win the next election. What about the political will of the people?
So the separation of powers were intentional by our forefathers,
yes,
to ensure that the politics does not entirely dominate the governance of the country.
Exactly.
Because obviously the political parties would have their own agenda, and it's not always that their agenda is in the best interest of the country.
Exactly.
But the argument that some people put forward now is, well, the case they put forward is the parliament in itself, if it functions effectively, independently and efficiently, some of the problems we experience in the country, especially in the realm of politics, we would not experience them if only Parliament is functioning efficiently. For example, the Public Accounts Committee focusing on Auditor General's report, calling people to be held accountable in the area of corruption. The Appointments Committee, those people, we've seen contentious appointees come through Parliament, and when opposition brings, and this opposition is whether it's the APC in opposition or the SLPP in opposition, we've seen the Speaker of Parliament implement what many interpret to be the President's desire. And again, this is not just under the President Bio-led administration, it's been happening. You would see that appointees that the opposition would have question marks about, because of the way the politics is played in Parliament about the representation. We've seen court cases of MPs from opposition taken to court during APC days, during SLPP days, reducing the representation. All this adds to the problems in the country. As someone who was once in Parliament, as a speaker, do you find the Parliament itself culpable to some extent in these problems?
Well, we have our shortcomings, but there is a political word called lobby. Mind you, the executive is mostly the one that brings bills, government bills to Parliament, and when the president, the head of government, is also a member of Parliament, and there is this word called lobby. They lobby their way. We do networking. You see, I keep reminding people about this word, sincerity of purpose. It's an individual thing, and if the people can also come up and give us, because every politician, your biggest bank account is the people behind you. You have a political party, if you don't have following, you don't have people, you'll just be floating. So we are usually or mostly intimidated by what our people want, because those are the people that made us to be there in the first place. So the question of just leaving it as we have our shortcomings, because firstly we are humans, but we have certain responsibility which demand certain networking. It's a question of the communication between us, the executive, the judiciary, and at levels we ought to have been doing. We are now doing what is called civic education, and that is helping, because a lot of people are now participating in so many ways. I'm very, very moved by that. So if us also as the head of the separation of power, the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive, are constantly, not when something happens. These are things we need to educate ourselves, come together even before, but we always react after, and so we call it that damage control should be one of the remedies. We look at things, behind closed doors, so that we reduce the tension, we reduce the noise about it, and it will be done in so many ways, So for me, I believe that if we want democracy to work, the people should be sincere, and the executive must also be sincere. Sincerity is very, 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 very important here. If Parliament is undermined by the other arms of government, they also have their own powers, that they can use. Political parties have awesome powers. All right, we gave you a responsibility. You are not doing what you want to do. You don't want to follow protocol, or you don't want to follow the rules. We know what to do. All of those are intimidating things that, in the interest of the nation, in the interest of the country, where we all anchor as a base, we have to come up with a way and means by which we communicate better, sincerely.
Let me hear from Honorable Kargbo. Do you think at a crucial time like this we can trust the Parliament of Sierra Leone?
Say that again.
Can we trust the Parliament of Sierra Leone at a crucial time like this?
Of course, we can trust the Parliament. It is very obvious that people are very concerned at the moment, very anxious about quite a number of developments, especially now that we are talking about new bills, about amendments, etc., etc.
Particularly that.
Particularly now. Yeah. Of course, somebody was questioning me the other day about my optimism about the performance of Parliament, when he said that in the case of the Auditor General, Parliament let them down. And I said that we should not use that singular occasion to judge Parliament in that regard. But I also know that we have a good number of people there. I can bet we have people like Daniel Koroma, who is one of the best legislators I know. And you have a good number of them as well who are there at the moment. But now what has been happening here is, and my younger brother here will testify to the fact, is that the public expects rather too much from parliamentarians. And yet parliamentarians have restrictions. They are restricted to just passing laws, and they are restricted to just trying to provide oversight. Sometimes the government does not provide the money for oversight, and then of course people shout at that you have not done your oversight. And then there are other aspects as well. But the fact of the matter is that I was one of the people who debated the 1991 Constitution. I knew what we had in mind in 1991 when we passed the bill. A good number of parliamentarians now were not part of it as well at the time. In fact, the only two remaining people who are still alive here now are Bundu, myself, and Isakatko. But the whole idea was to ensure that we develop a parliament that was so structured that the chairman was equal to a government minister in terms of remuneration, in terms of status, etc., etc. Give him a car, etc. That was what we had in mind. And we debated it very lengthily. And we also had in mind the fact that after some time, a member of parliament would have an opportunity to travel abroad for medical treatment, etc., etc. We thought this would make sure that people work towards being parliamentarians than fighting to become ministers. That was the thinking. The late Julius Salia Sharif made the argument, if you have the same salary as that of a minister, and you have access to a car, and you have access to medical care, I see no reason why you should rush to be a minister. And we all agreed at the time. But of course, you also know that there was a military coup then. When the coup came, the people who came to take over did not have these ideas in mind. So the transition now from that period to the new period had a gap.
4 years.
Right? 4 years. The military people did not have this in mind. And when Kargbo took over, he did not have this in mind. So we continued with our old system, having a parliament without all these other things we're talking about, all these beautiful ideas which were introduced at that time. And then we ended up as we are. But the challenges are many, but a good number of people are doing their best. The member of parliament in Sierra Leone is not only a legislator, he's also a father. He's also a giver of arms. He's everything. So these are some of the challenges as well.
You're saying the parliamentarians are incapacitated?
Sorry?
Are they incapacitated because of all of these things you've mentioned in any way?
They are. Yeah. They are.
On that note, they cannot, in good conscience, work for the people effectively. Is that what you're saying?
They can. A good number of us do. For example, if you go to my constituency, which where I worked for a few years, I did not have to build a school, build a mosque, build a youth center. But we did that because you also wanted to leave a legacy behind. I hope people will understand this. People are also very concerned about their own legacy. I want it to be said that when I was member of parliament in constituency 34, Kargbo built this mosque, he built this school, he built this youth center, etc., etc. Apart from anything else, you also want to leave a legacy behind. So also it's important. But of course, the public would not be satisfied, except if you do a little bit more than that.
The 1991 Constitution is being amended. They've tabled the bill in Parliament. They are now inviting position papers, to Parliament. But the whole idea, behind these amendments, first of all, was to kill the menace of excessive power in the executive, which didn't adequately happen in this amendment. Have you read through this particular instrument, Honorable Kargbo?
We compiled it, in fact.
So, what are your fair assessments? First, let's start there.
It was our idea. I was member of the Kanu Commission of Inquiry. Commission. And we put it together. We thought the president was too excessively powerful. And they wanted to cut down some of his powers, consistent with best practice internationally. We did not want to create dictators. You leave the constitution in the hands of a president, be a dictator, be something else. And you don't want to do that. You want to be very certain that you put him under control. But in my own party, we signed it. Ambassador Kamara and myself were representing the All People's Congress Party. My colleagues were very angry that, Mr. Kargbo, you have reduced the powers of the president. We are going to reduce the powers of the president because this is what obtains now internationally. You don't want to create dictators anymore. So I agree with you entirely. These were some of us are going to support this bill that seeks to reduce the powers of the president. Because I'm a member of parliament. I was a member of parliament. I am APC. I was part of the people who signed that we should reduce the powers of the president. It would be hypocritical on my part now to come back and sit here and say that, no, I think otherwise.
But did it adequately do so? That's the question. Did it adequately reduce the powers of the president?
Well, it's left with parliament to debate. This is why we have debates in parliament. Parliamentarians, some of them have ideas. They can come with suggestions that will reduce it. But we cannot just sit here and say that, the powers are too much. The parliamentarians they have subcommittees that can sit down and address some of these issues, bring them to the point whereby everybody will be satisfied.
Honorable, let's talk about free speech. Free speech and democracy in Sierra Leone, generally. And you've been observing for a while. How free would you say is free speech in Sierra Leone? How free are people to make their opinions heard about things in the country? How free are they, to what extent are they free, to talk generally? Not to even call names of people, but to make meaningful input in the governance of our country. In light of recent events, what are your assessments, fairly?
By the dictate of the Constitution, which is the grand norm, people have freedom of speech. It is in the law. But you have also subsidiary legislations which regulates your freedom. because maybe where your freedoms stop is where somebody's freedom starts. So you also have to be mindful of this. So if you just read the 1991 Constitution, leaving other legislations that that regulate and control that, which is also law, then you are doing a disservice. When you are caught pants down, you'll think somebody is mostly. I believe the legislation that dictates that freedom is still in existence in 1991. It's very clear that what I will always advise people who want to use that freedom cautiously, because there are other subsidiary legislations that regulates you. For instance, somebody will say, I am free to say this by the dictate of the 1991 Constitution. But what you will have to say, or what you are going to say, might also bring problem to the other people that you are saying them to. So that's why legislations like insulting conduct, incendiary language, and all of this, they are meant to not to cut off your freedom, but rather to regulate what you say, so that the harmony of living freely, is achieved by all of us. Your freedom is there, but how you use it and how that usage affects other people is what we should be talking about, what you should be educating people about. And I'm happy that those legislations are now being enforced by several ways. That is the reason why maybe this question is provoked about how free. We are actually free, but we have to read that freedom in tandem with other regulatory laws, which are also laws we all agreed to. They went through the same channel of being taken to Parliament. For some people, I'll just take you to Section 70. You look at the hierarchy of laws. So when you read the 1991 Constitution, don't forget that there are other legislations that you need to take consideration about. When you do that, then you are very, you are on track.
The detention of APC's Secretary General, Lansana Doumbouya, has sparked a lot of debate among, not least, elites of the country. One of such man is Ali Kargbo. I'm sure have you read his post on Facebook?
Yes, I think I saw it.
So he said, I quote, today APC's National Secretary General, Lansana Doumbouya, is detained in Parliamentary prison, accused of insulting President Julius Maada among other charges. While condemning his action, we must avoid the pitfalls of emotional response. Let Lansana Doumbouya be granted bail while his matter proceeds before the court. Bail is not acquittal. Bail is not endorsement. Bail is a constitutional safeguard. It affirms due process and respect for the rule of law. This has actually gone viral. And a lot of people are talking about it. Essentially was talking about how, unjust perhaps what had happened seems to a lot of people, that the bail of this man was denied. What are your views around this? Do you have a contrary view to Ali Kargbo and many others who have expressed, their opinion about what is happening at the moment?
Without me having a contrary, I think somebody rebutted by saying, well, the judges normally grant bail, in various circumstances. The circumstances differ. And on the area of Ali Kargbo, the conclusion of the order that they gave that rebuttal was that Ali Kargbo was a flight risk. By then he was ordinarily resident outside of this country. So if he's given bail, that could have, could have hampered or could have destroyed some evidence. If he chooses to fly, we don't know the condition of the bail. However, those are things that judges looked at because they are the presiding judge. You want to give somebody bail, and you'll also want to see him on the scheduled dates. So if you consider those days you are giving that bail to be something that will disrupt your court, then you have a. But I don't think that one is. There are very good observations, both ends. both what Ali Kaba consider to be what a bail is, and both what the rebuttal also observe about bail condition in terms of flight risk, giving an example of his status then when that incident occurred.
We now have been joined by Alhaji Alpha Kanu, who is the presidential spokesman. He's with us in Studio 2. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
And on Zoom, we have Honorable Bernadette Lahai. Good morning, Honorable. Are you there?
I'm there.
Great. Okay, we just
Alive
wanted
and
to usher
kicking.
you into the conversation. We'll come right to you in a moment. Honorable Ibrahim Ben Kargbo, there is a debate on the nature of the statement made by lawyer Lansana Doumbouya and Zainab Sharif. Two sides of the coin. One side says it doesn't meet the threshold for hate speech or incitement. Another side of the coin is saying yes, it does meet the threshold for hate speech and incitement. Where do you stand? Do you see anything wrong with what lawyer Lansana Doumbouya said and Zainab Sharif said?
Well, this takes me back to an incident years back when one of my friends wrote an article suggesting that President Doe of Liberia had killed his wife near the Sierra Leone border. And I was in England, then my friend was arrested and locked up at Pademba Road. Talking about the threshold. It was frightening at the time because, in fact, the lady did not die. But in this case of Lansana Doumbouya, the party has already made its statement on the matter. And my own personal view is that they were short of messages. Messaging is very important in politics. I do not convene a large meeting of that nature without having your messages intact. I think short of messages, they went to some other things. But I do not think that this matter should have been dragged to the point whereby a man like Lansana Doumbouya, highly respected in this country, should be not only taken to the CID and his party fined, but at the same time actually taken to Pademba Road prisons. I think that is an error, and it has to be corrected. And I was trying to do a letter to the president on that issue, because sometimes when I have problems with anything, I write a letter directly to the president or to the minister in charge. That this is a development which should not be allowed to happen, because that's very bad precedent. And leave the politics of it all. But the important thing is that Lansana Doumbouya has served this country well.
You still have not answered the question I asked. Do you find anything wrong with the statements made by lawyer Lansana Doumbouya and Zainab Sharif? You're speaking on the consequences that followed, but I'm asking your opinion on what they said. In your assessment, does it meet
a statement that was unfortunate.
Hate speech and incitement?
He made a statement that was unfortunate. I said so. And I told my friends that he should not have said so. For good reason. But at the same time, I do not think that it reached the threshold to have encouraged the government to take him to Pademba Road prisons. I do not think so at all. So these are two things here we're talking about. We're talking about Lansana Doumbouya, who went to a meeting and made a statement for which I chastised him. But at the same time, I do not think that we should have taken to the point of actually attempting to humiliate him. He is a man who has served this country well, and he is the Secretary General of a very important political party.
Could that also have been perhaps a reason for him, you know, when you look at someone and say you ought to have known better, could what you just said, the role he has played in society, should that have put him in a better position to ought to have known better and watch what he said?
Well, of course, that's what you normally say. You ought to have known better after the act. But now the man is at Pademba Road. I do not have the opportunity to tell him that he ought to have done better. The opportunity does not exist anymore. I think the matter, like my friend would say, that we overreacted on this matter. I would think so.
But your party as well, the APC, neither criticized what happened, what lawyer Lansana Doumbouya and Zainab Sharif said, nor did they speedily cooperate with the PPRC to pay the fine. It took a lot of back and forths until the PPRC said, okay, now you would be put on suspension before the fines were paid. And now the party is saying, in fact, Zainab Sharif is not even a member of the APC. Yet she was present at a gathering summoned by the APC.
We had convened a meeting, clearly with an attempt to ask Lansana Doumbouya to apologize. But then, of course, we were not given the opportunity.
Sorry, when you say we who?
I mean a group of us, right? But we were not given the opportunity. Before we could even move, the man had been arrested, charged to court. We could not do anything about it. If anybody should apologize, it should be Lansana Doumbouya himself. But he was not given the opportunity to apologize. We are not given the opportunity to ask him to apologize.
But the PPRC had gone beyond warning. They had warned both the APC and the SLPP. They had moved past warning stage to now implementing fines. The SLPP itself had had its own share of fine issued by the PPRC, and they had to pay their fine. What made it so difficult for the APC to comply with the PPRC?
They complied. Haven't they complied?
They delayed it.
Of course, so you have to consult.
Which is what took it from just a fine to suspension.
You are talking about 200 million old Leones. It's party money. You don't just go and take it and dump it back to PPRC. You have to consult. You need to have clearance from the chairman. You need to have clearance from the treasurer, etc. There is a process here.
But the SLPP could have put forward the same argument,
of course,
and delay not to pay their fine. But it was not the same thing. They paid their fine. Even though they put up an argument that the fine, even in the case of the First Lady's spokesperson, was not in that studio to represent the political party, but the office of the First Lady. Though they put an argument forward, they still went ahead to pay the fines on time. But the same did not happen with the APC, even though the first time you were fined
two times, and 2 times we have paid. We were fined 2 times, they fined us. And they gave us the information, and we sat together, and a decision was taken, and the money was paid. What more do we do? And we should draw a neat line between the PPRC case and what has happened at the CID. The CID matter is difficult. It's different. That's a state matter against Lansana Doumbouya. PPRC is a separate case. They fined us and we paid. I do not know what you expect us to do more than that.
Can the APC take responsibility beyond paying fines? As you've said, the money paid to the PPRC when a fine comes is party money that could be used to do something else. It's not the first time the APC is being fined. You have been a member of the APC for so long, and you're a man of wisdom. What do you think the APC can do differently now to stop attracting PPRC fines? Because the PPRC has communicated that they are very stern this time round. They've gone past warning the political parties.
We are also very concerned about those developments. We are handling it. You leave it with us. We are handling it. Leave it with us.
Handling what?
We cannot continue to lose money this way. We are handling this matter. The frequency of losing money to PPRC, we are handling it. Leave it with us.
How are you handling it? Within the party
within the
PPRC?
Party, of course. Within the party. Of course. The PPRC does not supervise the APC. The APC is an independent party. It's a party of the people.
But the PPRC regulates political parties.
It does.
That's what they do. It's the political parties regulation.
But when we want to take internal decisions, we do so on our own without involving the PPRC. I just told you that we are handling this matter. We cannot afford to lose money with such frequency to PPRC.
The APC has also argued that Zainab Sharif is not a member of the APC. the interesting part about that statement is, why is it coming now that there has been a fine attracted by something she said, but the APC never informed the public that Zainab Sharif was not a member, when Zainab has been on and off social media claiming to be a member of the APC? Not once did the APC distance itself from Zainab Sharif.
Is it the business of the APC to tell people that IB Kargbo is a member of the APC or not a member of the APC, or whether Ibrahim Bundu is a member of the APC or not? It's not our business.
Well, is she a member of the party?
Sorry?
Is she a member of the party?
I do not know. I'll have to check the records. We have a database. The records are there. They are available.
Let's head to Honorable.
I wish the Secretary General was around. If he was not at parliament, he would come here to clarify that one.
Let's head to Honorable Alpha Kanu. Good morning again, and thank you very much for joining us. Let's talk about this situation with the Secretary General of the APC. Ali Kaba, who's a member of the SLPP, is now putting a strong case for lawyer Lansana Doumbouya. Where do you stand with all that has happened between the APC and the state? A party which you were once a member of. By the way, are you still a member of the APC, or are you now SLPP?
You speaking with, talking to me?
Yes, sir. Just quick clarity before we...
No, I'm a member of the SLPP.
Okay. So you were once a member of the APC, now you're a member of the SLPP. Ali Kaba, who is a member of the SLPP, has boldly gone on social media to make his input to the conversation. Where do you stand on what has happened?
The question has two prongs. One, as a former member of the APC, if I was a member of the APC, that meeting would never have been called. It was wrong at the time, it's unconstitutional, it's premature. There is a prescription in the Constitution. Sections 84, 85, 86 tell you that in any 5-year period, the period of electioneering starts only after Parliament has been prorogued. And that was purely an electioneering activity there. So for me, it would not have happened. If I was in the APC, I would have advised against it. But now it has happened. So for the second question, Ali Kaba, who made that, was not a member, has never been a member of Parliament. I was a member of Parliament. And we are taught in Parliament that it is unparliamentary for anybody to make a comment on a public matter that is before the courts. It is called sub judice. So at this moment, I am a public servant. The matter is before the court, and sub judice for me. I have no comment on that. We'll let the law take its course.
Let's talk about the PPRC and the fines issued. Where do you stand on the stance of the PPRC so far in regulating political parties? The SLPP has received fines, the APC as well. Where do you stand on the stance of the PPRC?
The stance of the PPRC is clear. I remember when President Barack Obama visited Ghana, he said, Africa does not need strong men, strong people. It needs strong institutions. The PPRC is beginning to show that it is a strong institution. And when a democracy is underpinned by strong institutions, that democracy is set to prosper, is set to develop, is set to deliver on the rights and privileges of the population it governs. So I think the PPRC for now, it is showing that it is a regulatory institution and that it is going to keep to the law. For me, I think the PPRC is taking the right action.
Honorable Khan, the president, when the year was beginning, talked about delivering for the people of this country. But quite recently we saw a sudden hike in fuel prices across sale and pump prices. Is this part of the delivery he was talking about, or just a total mismatch?
Delivery is governed by prevailing circumstances. When it was expedient for the fuel prices to go down, they were allowed to go down. They are on a formula. if expediency also, in terms of supply chains demands and costs and all that, demands that the petrol, the fuel prices should go up, you allow it to go up. That is non-interference. But that for me is delivery. You allow the economics to determine that. When it was necessary, it was brought down. Now it's necessary for it to go up. I don't think we should make any hula baloo about it. But I want to make mention.
Are you saying that the hikes were necessary at a time when even international, crude oil prices are steadily declining?
But do you know that the pricing formula for petroleum products are not only limited to the price of crude?
So there are other variables, I understand, locally though, because we are buying refined fuel,
then bring them into the equation.
But it's 28.5 and overnight? Why shouldn't, the government
bring it into the equation. If
couldn't the government have, informed the public adequately before this happened in the first place?
You did not argue.
It happened overnight, and the next day morning we woke up and it was 28.5 all of a sudden, as if abagadabra.
You did not argue when the prices were going down.
But it should go down,
because the variables at the time determined that it should go down. Now, if the variables that form the formula have changed such that there must be a rise, you allow the rise to happen. The suddenness is important, because if it had been rumored over a long period, there was going to be what is called shortage, artificial shortages. People will hoard petrol and will see queues, will see struggles, and people will be paying not 28.5, they will be paying 50 leones for a litre just to get a black market fuel. So the government wanted to avoid that, the chaos and all that. So they make sure that when you have to make a decision, make it. A decision is necessary at a time, so make it when it is necessary.
Let's hear from Honorable Bernadette. Good morning again, and welcome to the program. Can you hear us, please?
Yeah, good morning. Are you getting me?
I can hear you adequately, but let me put this question. We are discussing governance and development generally in Sierra Leone. From where you stand as an experienced, politician in this country, where are we missing it, and where are we getting it correct at the moment? The pros and the cons, briefly, before we delve into the discussions properly.
Thank you very much. Any political party in governance operates within a broader and wider
sorry to interject
socio-economic.
Sorry to interject you, Honorable, sorry to interject, but can you please turn on your camera? It appears as though it's off at the moment. I'm not sure what device you're using.
I'm sorry. I'm in my home. Okay. This is morning. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. I'm going about my domestic tax, and I'm in my natural setting. So I'm sorry. Okay.
It's fine. You can proceed. You can proceed. You can proceed. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Even though I'm seeing you, but I'm sorry I cannot put myself on camera.
It's okay. It's okay.
As I was saying that governing parties work within a socio-economic and technological environment, and that environment actually impinges what they do, how they do, the progresses they made, and the challenges and constraints that they face. So I think the ruling government currently, we have to look at a wide range of variables, because we cannot just say on average this is where the progress is, this is where they are not progressing. We have to look at the variables, and it is these variables that we really need to speak to. You tell me where are the missing blocks, or where are they making progress? I think we really need to be specific, because we have over 10, 15, 20 sectors. I wish you could really just pinpoint which sectors do you want me to talk about. Because we have the education sector, the agriculture sector, we have all the transport and all these sectors. So I want you to be specific.
Yes, perhaps we could talk about the most crucial areas, economic, and agriculture generally. The economy, one, and agriculture, which is food. I mean, that is quite important to a lot of people in the country.
Yeah, even me as an agriculturist, that sector is very, very much important to me. And I'm not a bystander, or I'm not a passive audience or recipient. I'm very much involved in the economy. The economy, particularly agriculture, is doing quite well, in the sense that if we look at the feed salon, the feed salon has multi-sector areas, the area of food security, the area of livestock and fisheries. We also have in the area of women in agriculture, youth in agriculture. Of course, you cannot talk about it without talking of the environment. And there have been several achievements in this. Yesterday, I was reading the Minister of Agriculture, the progress we've made so far in terms of food security. And I can see it myself, because I live in Kenema, but I also live in the rural areas where myself I'm farming, mostly livestock, fisheries and other crops. We are seeing improvements in food security. Even though we need to opt our resource allocation, we see a lot of farmers are producing. Fisheries is another area. I'm seeing a lot of more entrants into the fishery sector. I am in the piggery sector and also the sheep and goat sector. I think we are doing well. We may have some challenges in terms of cost of feed, fertilizers, and so forth and so on. So I think we are seeing more innovation in the agriculture sector. Youths are going in there, women are going in there. But what is also going to be very important is our value addition, because the emphasis of the government is to transform our raw materials into added products, wherein we can increase not only the shelf life, but also increase our income and food availability by spreading it over a few more months. So I see a lot of that. I was in Kailan for the World Food Day, in Cambia for the World Food Day, and we see a lot of value addition, especially from women. Rice is no rice, sweet potato, cassava. These are no longer just consumed the way we used to consume it. We just boil the cassava and eat. We now have a lot of other transformed products, biscuits, flour, and in fact, some are now using composite flour and wheat, to come up with a lot of other things. There's a lot of innovation, and I think the incomes farmers are raising from these crops are really substantial. Even myself, I am a piggery farmer. Right now, as I sit here, sales from my pig, from my pork, is really carrying me on, because I don't want to depend on my pension. So I do a lot of value addition. I do, smoked pork and all those things, not just sell it raw. So I say a lot of value addition, and that is where we need to go, both at the even rice milling. Rice milling, there is now a lot of innovations in rice milling. People are beginning to packet 5 kg, 10 kg, and our 25 kg and 50 kg. And we are using the brand, the byproducts, in our piggery, in our livestock, especially poultry. There's a lot of also growing of maize, because poultry cannot survive without maize production. Although we still need to up our production of maize, because it's a major substrate, or ingredients in the livestock sector. So I think in that sector we are doing well, but we need also to improve upon the extension services. We need to train more extension agents to actually bring these technologies. We need to support research. I know that slurry now is on a better footing, because I worked in slurry when I finished my master's in Jala. After a few years ago, the condition of service of salary was equivalent to that of the university in Jala and the university all over the country. But that was later on shelved, and the condition became the same as the Ministry of Agriculture. And most of these researchers left for the universities. But I think that has now been addressed. You know, they have put back salaries, condition of service, because they are researchers, you know, they are lecturers, they are associate lecturers, both in the university and also in the research institute. So now that the situation has been reversed and the condition of service has been brought up to the same level as any university, because in research you have doctors in research, you have people with masters, you know, you have specialists. You cannot subsume their condition of service to that of the Ministry of Agriculture, which has been the situation for quite some time now. So research is very important. Agricultural extension is going to be very important also if we should continue to make the gains. You know, farmers need to have access to the technology. Farmers need to have access to skills, to the inputs. Inputs are very, very important. But you know, the road system has to be improved, because even me, you know, when I do my slaughter my pigs, you know, to bring it to Kenema, you know, the road system is bad, and I see a lot of perishable goods that are wasting where the transportation is high, where there are very bad roads, you know, especially joining the trunk roads. Like, for example, if you take the Kenema Kailan Highway, you know, most of the trunk roads, you know, needs to be rehabilitated so that goods and services could move freely between and among the farmhouse, the farm gate, and the market and the consumer. So these are areas I think there are a few challenges, but Rome was not built in a day. You know, these challenges, we are aware of it, and efforts are being made to ensure that these challenges are addressed speedily, so that the food security drive, you know, is going to be achieved, and then farmers will increase their income, standard of living will be raised. When it comes to the economy, you know, the economy has many facets, you know. Money, inflation is another variable of how we measure economy. We measure economy also from the purchasing ability of people. We measure economy according to the growth rate, you know, the percentage of growth rate, and all this. So all these measures will have to be really looked into. We are not yet there as Sierra Leone, because we also face a lot of challenges. Our economy also is hinged on what happens in the international arena. For example, when the price of oil, we have a determinate effect on goods and services, the cost, the movement from one place to the other of people, and all of those things. So these are all, our currency also is important. How strong is our currency? If we benchmark it against, you know, the Leone and the dollar, the stability of our currency over the few years. So all these are important, you know. I see the consumer prices that are being put out every now and then to compare whether it is going up, it is going down. But at the end of the day, it is people who really should be the ones to tell us, because yes, we can have 50% increase with growth and all those things, but people need to feel it, you know, in their everyday life, you know. So these are important. So we can look at both the abstract in terms of the percentage of our GDP growth and all those things, but also we have to look at how this translates into what people eat, what services people can afford. So these are all the things, but you know, I always say that governments don't have all the wherewithal to improve on the economy. If they had, they will not be even talking, because one government will just come, get the money, and just change the life of everybody overnight. But no, the more people improve upon their lives, the more they want to have better and better social services. If I have a bicycle today, with time, I want to have a bike, or I want to have a keke. After keke, I want to have a car, you know, and all those things. So the human want is insatiable, you know. The more you satisfy the human wants, the more and better services that human being gets. So that is why it behoves government to continuously improve upon the economy so that the social lives of the people will be impacted. Let me stop here so far, David.
All right, Honorable Bernadette Lahai, let's get back to governance. The constitutional review process is now being accelerated. It's a process the country has been on for about 2 decades or more, and it's now in Parliament. I assume that you've been following this conversation in the country. What are your thoughts or concerns about the constitutional review process? And as a former member of Parliament, how do you expect the current members of Parliament to treat this process?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, you know, I was a member of the Peter Tucker Constitutional Review as the National Women's Leader of the SLPP then. Then we had the Justice Kawan Constitutional Review process. You know, I was not a member, but we made a lot of submission, especially when it came to gender. I was in Parliament then, and then now we had the report, and we had the various white paper from the Kuruma-led government, and now the white paper from the Bio-led government. And I'm very much preview to what is going on. I have read the constitutional amendment, the one that is purely largely looking at elections. Of course, our constitution is not only made of elections, but there are a lot of other things. And we have interacted severally with the Attorney General. I have also interacted severally with women's groups. We have looked at the constitution, where we have looked at the report, both the 2 white papers we've looked. In fact, I was a consultant. I had to review what was in there for women in the Kuruma white paper and the Bio white paper vis-a-vis the recommendations of Justice Kawan. And so I'm very much preview. I think last week I was in Freetown. We had a meeting with the Attorney General on this current review process. And we asked him what was happening with the rest of the content of the Constitution, because Constitution is not only about elections. So I'm very much aware of it. I have done some research work. I've made some presentations on the constitutional review that is going on. Well, I expect Parliament to take it very, very, very seriously. Very seriously. I was in the pre-leg recently also in Parliament, where the minister, the Attorney General also and his team presented on what they have done so far with those of the elections. The election variables of the Constitution are time bound, and I think that he said the earlier we move it out of the way, then we can deal with less contentious issues. Parliament was there. It was more of information leading to maybe the first reading of the bill. I'm following it very closely. So I think we have traveled a long way. We've really traveled a long way. I think it's high time before 2028 we have a new constitution, because a lot of things have changed. You know, we had the war, we had the Ebola, we had the corona, we had the mudslide, you know, and a lot of things have changed nationally and internationally. So our constitution may no longer serve the essence for which it was intended. So we are watching the process very keenly. MPs should take it very seriously. It is a sacred duty they have, and they must understand and listen to the public, listen to their constituents, their views, and let those views inform their debates, and at the end of the day, the law of this current one is very important, because I'm not saying that everything has to do with elections, but most of our problems in Sierra Leone, especially the war and all those things, most of them emanated from election-related issues, not only in Sierra Leone, but all over Africa. We are now seeing, a surge in unconstitutional takeover of government. And when you look at the underlying factors, most of it has to do with election matters, Either the environment is constricted for citizens, for opposition, or there is violence. There is elongation of term limits. There is tampering with the constitution. All those things. So that is why I'm sure this Attorney General is trying to make sure that it takes it out. So our MPs have to really be very careful. We have the framework, international framework, and the regional framework. We have the ECOWAS protocol on elections, democracy, and good governance. It is very good, but the problem is, our heads of state going by it. Are they going by it? There is provision for citizens, there is provision for the judiciary, there is provision for political parties, there is provision for youth and women. What are they going about it? What I have seen over the years is that the one aspect of the articles of those governing frameworks that the heads of state are very quick to take action is when there is an unconstitutional takeover of government. That one they are very quick to condemn and all those things. I'm not saying that I support unconstitutional takeover of government, but we have to look at the triggers. What triggers this, especially we are now seeing Burkina Faso, Mali, and all of those things. So it's a very sacred responsibility the political parties have in parliament. We should be nationalistic. We should take ourselves out. This constitution is not going to be made for one political party or for one head of state or for one individual. It is for the country. It is for those that are yet to be born and those that are already been born, and us who, are gradually, moving to where we will go to the lounge, the departures lounge. That means all of us, those who are over 60 years and so forth. So it's very important. It should be open. The discussion should be very open, frank. And the minister should have an open mind, listened, some of the things, for example, the system of elections, because this is where that is now very topical. Which system of election should Sierra Leone adopt? I have made presentations on these systems, both the first past the post and the PR. I went to Parliament in 2002 under the PR, and then under the PR, then subsequent to elections was under the first past the post. They all have their merits and their demerits, but no one is better than the other, in the sense that, it depends. They don't operate alone. They operate within the wider socio-economic milieu of a country. So if it is PR, certain things will also have to be given and put in place. If it is first past the post, certain things would have to be given and put in place. For example, I was just looking at the threshold. In 1996, we had 5% threshold, and there were 13 political parties that contested. 6 of the political parties won. In 2002, when the threshold was 12.5, very high. So that was why we only had 3 political parties in parliament in 2002, SLPP, APC, and PLP. Then now we had the 2023 elections under PR. The threshold is 11.9. Again, of course, I'm not saying it, but everybody said the threshold was too high. And that is why this time we only have 2 political parties in parliament, the APC and the SLPP. The PR has its own merits, but everything is also based on the threshold, on other political exigencies. So these are the arguments. I have listened, I have taken part in some of them. I have even been a consultant in one or two of these, wherein I have given my own opinion. There are a lot of variables that will need to be considered, to be put in place. It's not that PR is bad, but for me, I've always leaned on the PR. I've always leaned on it, even before coming to Parliament, because I've also done a lot of research in other governments and in other electoral systems. You know, I have been a member of many election observation in the ECOWAS, in the African Union, you know, and being the vice president of the Pan-African Parliament for those years that I was in Parliament, we did a lot of work on electoral reforms and so forth. So it's important that we take this into consideration. We make sure that, you know, we don't create a constitution that is meant for one person or one political party. Constitution is life, because everything a country does has to be within the constitution, and a mistake, you know, can lead to everything. So the minister has said he's going to be opened. He will work with groups. He worked with us last week. We were there. And he has promised that there will be a women specialist group that will really look at the issues of women in not only this one that is before Parliament, but all subsequent one. But we hope that they will have a listen, and the parliamentarians, you know, will really be nationalistic, because I know that, you know, to have these things, it has to be two-thirds. Most of the provisions in the bill before now will have to, if it is going to be put to vote, will have to be two-thirds, you know. And no political party has two-thirds in that parliament. But it's going to be a matter of give and take. It's going to be a matter of what is good for Sierra Leone, what is good for my grandchildren now, and what is good for my grandchildren yet on board. Even when I have been, even when, you know, I leave this world, you know, their consciences. Everything you do, let your conscience be at play. When you go to bed, your conscience will allow you to sleep, because there is no sterner prison than guilty conscience. I should not have done this. Did I do it with the best of intention? So this is what I will say, my sister. I'm very much part of the process that is going on now at different levels, at the level of women, at the level of former parliamentarian. And I will make it my business to ensure that, you know, I will attend, even though I'm in Kenema, I will attend most of the constitutional debate that is going on when I know about it and when I have time to come and take part and listen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Bernadette Lahai, for your contribution to the program. Stay with us. We'll try to make more time to come right back to you. Honorable Ibrahim Bundu, let's come back to you. 2026 is a year of action, says the President, but it's also a year of preparation for 2028 elections. At political party levels, the parties are also doing their own preparations at national level, but one of the key issues on the table is a fragment of the 2023 elections, where, of course, APC remains stern in the position that the 2023 elections weren't credible. But as we move forward, as we put the bricks together to lay the foundation for 2028 elections, what can you say about the recommendations of the electoral reform so far to perhaps right the alleged wrongs of 2023 elections, so we don't have a repeat in 2028?
Well, thank you very much for this question, but I want to preface it with a reminder here. Unfortunately, three of us, myself, the Honorable Alpaka and Kanu and Bernadette Lahai, we are in Parliament when we graduated from the district block to the first past the post. And the interesting thing that happened was we were 27 on our own bench, the APC, and the SLPP was 83. And naturally, 12 paramount chief will always put on the side of the government. So I take it as 95. these two people will bear me out. That debate was so tense, but I believe all of us that took part in that discourse, we were very, very nationalistic in my view. I'm not priding it to us because we passed it. And when it came to the voting, it was not even a secret ballot, because we started with voice, and it has its own, so the speaker did not want to get involved. So we asked for a division, and we called for a voting, a show of hands. We, on our side, of course, all of us voted in favor. And believe me, the government bench voted alongside us. That's one of the things I always remember, and thank God I have the opportunity to bring it today. 27 on the one side, and 83 or 90 something on the other side, and we won. So what the Honorable Bernard Lai was saying, was pleading that the MPs need to pay rapt attention. There is already a precedent. So whether you are a minority or whether you are in the majority, vote your conscience for the sake of Mama Salone.
So this means that there are some of the SLPP honorables then that voted in line with what you voted for during that time?
Yes, publicly. That was the admiration, publicly. And of course, even President Nkrumah, he was then minority leader, he gave an interview on that. Of course, Alpha, I'm sure he will give a little contribution on that. But that is very important. And that statutory instrument has its negative and positive arguments. So when people approach the likes of us to talk about this, I mean, go back to the minutes of the last meeting. The MPs have an obligation, that's why we have the hands section, to go back and look at all of those. What people like, the contribution of people like the Honorable Bernard Lai, the Honorable Alpha Ka, the Honorable who summed up on the minority, the Honorable Ernest Bai Kuruma. All of these are resource basis that our MPs will use to actually enhance or enrich the debate that is very, very important. So coming to the what was the
electoral reforms?
Yeah, the electoral reforms.
The
electoral reforms were informed by the antecedent of, or the incident of the 2023 elections, and they all came as a sincere way of not only the escalate tension, to find a solution of so that one cannot be repeated in 2028. I don't know why people are now deviating for various reasons, especially some who are doing it for under partisan or under for advantage. Like my colleague rightly said, the two systems have been used both by APC and SLPP, and there is a fundamental observation she made about the threshold. When we did the 1996 at a very comparable threshold, 5%, I mean, so many political parties have the opportunity to come in as parliamentarians, so many political parties, 5 in that case. When we hiked it to 12%, I think it was only 3 in 2007, 2002 that came to Parliament. So that should have guided us that this threshold is the main problem of, because the argument parties are putting forward is it encourages other political parties to participate. It opened a wider door. So why don't we concentrate on the issue of the threshold? Now we had we tried it in 2023 with a high threshold almost equivalent to the one we tried in 2002. We are still getting the same effect, bad effect for other people. That is the reason why you see all of this tension. Let us now concentrate on the threshold. I believe, in my view, that if the threshold is widely accepted, I don't see any of these two political parties not having representation everywhere, because that is
what
one of the things.
What figure are you proposing? What should the threshold be reduced to? What do you think would work?
Well, if I'm asked to propose, I would propose 5% and not beyond 6%. I'm sure APC, SLPP, we all have the capacity over the years. We have ruled, we have formed government for several years. We'll have, because it's the question of representation. Honestly, people are agitated by the fact that they feel eliminated. District feel eliminated. And there was also one of these arguments saying that it will limit other constituencies or other areas to be represented, unlike the first past the post. When we came in 2002, it was a blanket number for every district, the district block. It was 8 in that case. But today, they have just given a semblance of a blend. The constituency, if you have 10 constituencies in your district, that 10 constituency will be constituted as the district block. So there comes the role of the political party. If you have 10 people to fill in, because it is not the NEC that is going to, or ECSL that is filling in candidates, it is your political party. You sit and look at the equitable distribution in accordance with the constituencies that you used to man, so that no constituency will be left unrepresented. Well, I'm hearing people blaming the ECSL or blaming the system to be, the ones that are causing underrepresentation or overrepresentation, and that is what is happening. But let the political parties take that blame. Let them take that responsibility. That if it had been a mistake, now when we, like for instance, like Port Loko district, we have 10 constituencies, but it is now a district block. All we need to do, every constituency must have a representation, equitably by, but because of some things that are not democratic in political parties, you have a concentration of 3 or 4 members of parliament in one area, while 2 or 3 no representation. Those are the kind of observations I want to make in line with what my colleague has said.
You've given us a beautiful history of what the parliament was back then to what it is now. The beauty that members of the SLPP could even join the APC and vote in line of what they thought was in the best interest of the country then.
Right.
That's not something we get to see in the recent parliaments of Sierra Leone.
But it's achievable. That is the beauty of history. I'm bringing it now for people to know that it's not a crime for you to vote alongside the government or for you to vote alongside. It's, it's conventional all over. Republicans voting with Democrat voting. Why are we departing?
What would it take for a parliament to get back to those days where the MPs would vote what's in the interest of the country, not necessarily what's in the interest of their party, especially in instances when what is in the best interest of the country conflicts with what is in the best interest of the party?
The political parties that has some that are using some obnoxious clauses in their regulation, both at party at constitution level, to muzzle those dissenting voices, must also come out clean. It's a concerted effort. You don't leave it in the hands of the MP, because if you go to Parliament with the symbol, that symbol you carry has a constitution in the first place, and there are provisions there that limit you to do certain things. Section 77 on the constitution is also there. If you constantly voting alongside the opposition, you know what I mean. All of these things are there. That's why I keep hammering home sincerity of purpose. We have reached a point where those things that are not working, they are not working. And if we keep pushing them for political reason, we are still going to push this country into chaos. So my advice here is all the sectors. When I started my contribution today, I talked about the legislature, the executive, because we are intertwined here. You can't work in isolation with the executive. The head of government, who is the president, is also a member of parliament. And we have strong words like lobby. This is not a Limba or Timini word. It's an English word. You have words like expediency, meaning not everything that is right that is expedient. When you put all of those in politics, it becomes a little, So that is why engagement, back-end engagement, that was what we used to do when we don't have a lot of problems between me and my colleague when she was minority leader. Most of the things we present, most of them are discussed at a back end or at at convenient places, and that is conventional all over parliaments. You see, fortunately for us, who served at a supra parliament, she served at the AU parliament, I served in the ACP parliament for over 10. In fact, she even served in the ACP parliament. I served there for over 10 years, and I became speaker of that parliament. So some of these things, when we say them, we say them from an informed position. This is what, it's the willingness, this is the mindset. And most of these MPs that are now, most of them that are now there, they did not have the luxury of some of us serving both eyes. I entered parliament when in the opposition. I spent 5 years. Then I spent another 10 years in government. So when I talk from an informed point of view. So when Bernadette also was in government, when we entered parliament in 2002, and they lost power in 2008. But because of that knowledge, how we saw the SB Maras, the Chichalagaos, how they were interacting for the interest of the nation. I think that was what informed us when we were moving from district block to first past the post. We saw those examples. So when me and Bernadette became minority and majority leader, people are always saying it when we go that these people have been very consultative. If you don't consult in politics, believe me, you are going to either you hike tension or So it is about time we de-escalate tension in this country, because our people are ill-informed. They don't even know that they have bigger responsibility than us members of parliament. You are in the majority. Government of the people, for the people, by the people. So that is why if anybody wants to bring a legislation to parliament, your first port of call is the people. When we also receive that legislation, our port of call is to the people to go and inform them. But alas, when we go there, they approach us with a different view. So these are all the things that need intensive discussions, frank and and honest discussions. With that view, I think we should be all right.
Let's circle back to, Honorable Kanu. You've listened for a while. If you were to advise, let's say you were consulted on this ongoing constitutional review at the moment, with which particular threshold would you perhaps suggest that we go with for the next election? That's the contention now. It's not a matter of the particular political system or electoral system that we'll be using, though. It's about the threshold. Should it be lowered or increased in any way, Honorable Kanu?
Me?
Yes, I'm talking to you.
I thought you said Honorable Kargbo.
Kanu.
Okay, Kanu, thank you very much. Thanks.
So I'm asking about the ongoing, constitutional amendments that we are making, and the bulk of the argument right now is about the threshold that should be chosen eventually. It's not about really the electoral system, whether it's PR or first past the post. Where do you stand? What would you suggest if you were consulted for something as crucial as this?
Thank you very much. To answer that question, I must preface from what my colleagues have said. My colleague, Honorable Bernadette Lahai, and my colleague, Honorable Ibrahim Bundu. Mm-hmm. The parliament that we served in 2002 to 2007 was a unique parliament. It was a parliament where the leaders of the political parties were parliamentarians, including the president at the time. So we would consult in there, and the leaders would be there when arguments are made from both sides of the aisle. They will make their minds up. But as I see it today, most of the parties, the leadership is outside of parliament. Mm-hmm. They can only hear it from social media, what's happening in parliament, and also maybe from newspaper cuttings. So they are not really au fait with actually what has been discussed in Parliament and the rationale behind that. That is why we were able to create a consensus Parliament with the SLPP at the time. I was in the opposition together with Honorable Ibrahim Bundu. But the particular debate he was referring to was a landmark debate. Out of 27, we came up with about 58 members who voted in favor of the motion at that time, which means we had more than 31 members from the other side voting with us at the time. So it shows that the people understood that this was a necessary debate for the good of the Sierra Leone, and that worked for us. So I have always said that it is important for leaders of political parties to have gone through Parliament or be in Parliament, because it is the actual college for political leadership and statesmanship. So now to answer your question, you see, the constitutional review we're talking about at the moment, it actually was influenced by His Excellency the President when he made his parliamentary speech in August 2023. He said that the current problems that we have in Sierra Leone emanated from the fact that the laws that we use for our elections were outdated, and they are the ones that people always use as excuses to contest elections. So we should go into a constitutional review. So the tripartite and the national unity government came into being as a product of that intervention by His Excellency the President. Now we have that. We also have the TRC's recommendations that we must review our constitution. Yes, but like Honorable Bernadette Lahai said, yes, there are so many other issues in the constitution that we can look into. But those are antecedental to the actual electoral rules, the electoral systems, which always give us the problems, which lead us to war, which lead us to violence, which lead us to disaffection with each other. The Sierra Leone 1991 Constitution is a hybrid of the British parliamentary and the American presidential systems. Fundamentally, of course, the USA has a written constitution, but the British do not. They evolve their constitution on a day-to-day basis, depending on the laws they enact, depending on the traditions and the dynamism of what's happening in the country on a daily basis. It develops. So we have now assumed that. We take a part of it, the accountability section from the Westminster section, and we take the absolutism from the presidential system in the USA. We combine them. But the difference between us and the USA and the difference between us and the UK is that they are monolithic societies, culturally and language-wise. We are not. We have 16 different tribes with 16 different cultures. So usually when elections happen, there's controversy at the end of the day as to who takes everything when the winner takes all. That is why at this moment, we are here to discuss how we can have a constitution that works for every Sierra Leonean. So in that way, we have to shift a little bit from the Westminster model. We have to shift a little bit from the American model. They are monolithic, they're homogeneous. We are not. We are a heterogeneous society, diverse cultures and things like that. So let's figure how we can capture that into our own constitution. The laws are there for us to be made. The parliament is there for that to be done. Even in 2017, 31st July, we as a government at the time made an attempt to do a constitutional review. This is a copy of that. And a lot of the articles that we had proposed to review at that time are captured in the present proposal from the government, especially the one that talks about the threshold for somebody to become a president, moving from the 55% to 50+1. That is already there. We had agreed as a party. But what is important here is that the electoral system we must adopt. Honorable Bundu talked about the proportional representation in 2002, 1996, 2002, and then the first part was 2007 and 2018. We have seen how those have varied the representation in Parliament. The proportional representation has always proven to be the safe end for the security and the reduction in tensions and violence for our people. But what happened in 2023 is that we took the wrong level of threshold. 11.9% is tremendously high. When we had 5%, like Bernadette said, there were 6 political parties represented in Parliament. So almost every aspect of society and region was represented at that time. So we had a very smooth sailing.
So what figure are you proposing?
So you want it to be absolute. I would propose 5% or even 4%, because we really need to have an inclusion in our government. There are people who, for instance, I know of a particular situation in England. There is a one-man party in England called the Monster Raving Looney Party. That party, led by its leader, the only person who is in that party, always has an opportunity to contest, to project himself and all the ideas that he has and all that. So I think when we open the threshold to a level where a lot more people can participate, I think that will help us. So for me, the proportional representation is good, but the threshold should go down to about 5%. But let's not just stop at parliamentary level. The problem we have is fairness in the distribution of resources. I think we should escalate that to the executive. Once we do that, I think we would have crafted a more acceptable constitution for our people, where everybody feels part of the decision making and also sits at the table. I agree with you. Like I always say, we sarin gobo, let's sarin go makeni.
Before we hear from, Dr. Lahad, we've seen a pattern in Sierra Leone, not only with this current government, but we've not been able up till now to fix electricity crisis in Sierra Leone. This erraticism, with electricity supply has grown even further, Can you fix this at all? Because it's something we've been talking about for the longest time. The president himself has served as minister, of electricity in this country. A new man has come. But up till now, we're not seeing any visible changes.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to delivery.
Now when? You mean?
Delivery.
This particular year?
Electricity.
Okay.
You talked about it. I think the main problem is that we tried to unbundle National Power Authority, but we did not unbundle it enough. We stopped at just having an EGTC and an EDSA. But these are still concentrated in one area, i.e. Freetown. Everything that happens in Bo, Kenema and all that, they have to take direction from Freetown. We should decentralize the distribution of electricity and the generation of electricity. I can give you an example. Port Loko, where I come from, we have a self-standing hydroelectric power station. During the rainy season, for 6 months of the year, the only fuel we use is water, which means the limited amount of money we use in maintenance and all that is just for buying engine lubricating oils and things like that and salaries. So we generate enough funds for us to be able to power our generators during the dry season. But the money comes, all of it comes to Freetown. We are not independent. If we try to make each section, each area, each sector independent, I think that will help us to even control the prices. For example, if I'm burning water for electricity, there is no reason for me to be charging the same as if I am burning diesel whose prices fluctuates on the high side all the time. Cambia also now can also be self-sustaining. At the moment in Cambia, there were private people who generate electricity for their communities, and they charge them on a daily basis. 10,000, 20,000 leos a day, and they connect you for electricity. But now, EDSA and AGTC are generating electricity in Cambia, but still the revenues is coming into Freetown. They're not able to maintain it on their own. All right? So there are certain districts which can be, for now, made independent and reduce the burden on the central distribution system here. Yes, so I think the best way, or one of the best ways to control the price and make it fixed and affordable by our people is to try and unbundle further, unbundle the electricity generation and the EDSA, as we have started before within the APC.
Honorable Bernadette Lahai, can you hear me, please? We're rounding off now.
Hear you.
You've heard from
I can hear you.
Honorable Kanu has said that he would suggest 5% threshold for the next election. What are your views around this? What do you propose as a senior, stateswoman in this country?
I propose that we also look at the threshold. It's very important. 1996 we had 5%, okay. But and we know why we had 5% in 1996. All the country was not reachable. A lot of our people were behind the rebel line. But again that the country was the constituency. The whole country was one constituency. So that means one political party gave one list of the 68 constituencies that were to be voted for. So it was the national list system. So 5%. But the population has grown. So I would say we look at between 5, 6, or 7% of the threshold to take into consideration the growth in population. But also, one thing in that perspective, we also have to ask the question, which type of list? Because in 2002, it was the alternate list. This election, it was one list. It was not an alternate list. What I mean alternate list, in 2002, like I contested in Kenema East. Kenema East, we had Dibikwi, we had the late Dibikwi and the late Morel Amin. We were three of us that went for the election. I came second, and Dibikwi came first. So I was Dibikwi's alternate. So meaning if anything happens to Dibikwi, I will automatically be the next member of parliament, so that there is no void in representation. So that was how, before the election in 2002, when there was a mishap with Dibikwi, he did not register, automatically I filled his position. So that was how Lower Bambara Kenema East was with a member of parliament. But the difference with this 2023 list is that you don't have an alternate list. You didn't have an alternate list. For example, if we had had an alternate list, the MPs that had died, automatically the same alternate would now fill their position. In 2002, the alternate candidate for Tarasit Tarawari was Musa Tarawari. The alternate candidate for Alex Kroma was Honorable Veronica Sise. So when Tarasit Tarawari died, automatically Musa Tarawari came in. When Alex Kroma died, automatically Honorable Vero came in. So there has been no void. But we see a situation like Afakan has said, that, in Lokomasama, you have the same MP in 3 constituents in one chiefdom, because the list that has been prepared is different. So if we are going to reduce the threshold and we are going to go with the PR system, we should adopt the alternate list. And not this long list, wherein, you have Kenema, we had 12 constituencies. So when you have the 1 to 12, the 13 is not the alternate of the number 1. The 14 is not the alternate of the number 2. So now we even have a problem in Kenema. Honorable Ella has died. Who is our alternate? We don't know anybody is going to come up, because, we didn't use the alternate list. So I think, that is why I said that it is not only the system, but how we operate the system, how we operate the list, and the education we give people. When I was in parliament in 2002 to 2017, it is the Lower Bambara people that I represented. Even though it was the PR system, they never went to another MP, because I went to Lower Bambara. It is where I went. It is me people knew. When anything happens, it is not Honorable Bintu Myers or Honorable Makaya that they came to. They came to me. It was me, because I went to Lower Bambara. I contested for the symbol. I came second, and God willing, I became the member of parliament. So if we look at that, then this issue of, we don't have an MP, I don't know my MP. But let me tell you, whether it's the first past the post or the PRN, if the conditions are not given to the MPs to go to their constituency, they will not go. If the conditions are not given to MP for committee oversight, they will not do it. So it is not only the PR, the what. We have to strengthen the parliamentary what. We have to also strengthen citizens' probity and accountability. Poverty and democracy are no good bedfellows. Yeah? Even if you say the constituents should hold me responsible for my actions. When I go there, you know, they ask me to buy nappy for their children. They ask me to bury their mom and their dad. They ask me to pay money for the initiation of their children. They ask me that they have not eaten today. They ask me that they want this and all those things. How are they going to hold me accountable? How will they hold me accountable? So it is everybody, the citizen, the legislature, the executive, the judiciary, all of us. We have to work to that to make sure that whichever system we put in place works.
Nice. Thank you very much indeed, Honorable Lahai. A clear definition of the variables for whichever system we're going to go with for the next elections.
All right. We would need to round off today's conversation here, but we would read out a few messages, not to get a response, just to include their contribution to the conversation. Lolo Gasparini says, "Na legends then they na the program today." Joseph Sam says, "Hope our MPs are listening to these former MPs who served diligently with their conscience. Country first." Richard Melvin Bori says, "Very interesting moment this morning." Joseph Sam says, "Honorable Bundu is one of the honest politicians we have in this country." Well, because of time, we'll just limit it to those. But thank you very much, Honorables, for being part of the program this morning.
Thank you.